Hello, this is Christina Barr. You're watching Black2News. Hello. Welcome to Black2News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we'll be talking about something that Charlie Kirk said the other day that was making the rounds on social media, and I just thought it was bananas regarding something that he said DeSantis should do, and I guess I got a rant about it. I just, I like a lot of stuff that Charlie has done. I appreciate things he's done for the movement, and I think he's a really smart guy. But this particular commentary made me raise my eyebrows, I guess. Also want to talk about I wanted to put this in the title, but I didn't know how to put it in the title without getting flagged. But CNN is getting roasted because they posted an article about two Ugandan men who are facing separate charges of aggravated homosexuality, and they say in this country's controversial new anti-gay laws. But they're going after a man who sexually assaulted a disabled man, and another one who sexually assaulted a 12-year-old. So calling it an anti-gay law when they're just literally going after perverts who sexually assaulted people and did the R word that I won't say because I think it'll get flagged. It's just crazy. They even got like a community notes on their own link to their own article on Twitter. So they're rightly getting roasted, I think, though the information is in the article. But I don't know who the heck thinks up these tweets and posts them in the way that they do. Also want to talk about the interview that I mentioned yesterday that we didn't get into, but the fired Ukrainian prosecutor was interviewed on Fox News about why he believes he was fired, and we speculate why he was fired because he was investigating the company that Joe Biden's son was on. And so I'm gonna go ahead and play the quid pro quo video. I keep it loaded. I don't delete it because there's always a good moment to show it, basically, and then I'll go into a bit of the interview, and you can take what he says with a grain of salt, but things look really fishy around Joe Biden. We talked yesterday a little bit about how it was discovered that he has a lot of aliases that are not in the least bit creative, and different emails that he had added his CC, his son and stuff on. So they're still looking into the Biden investigation, and there's a lot of smoke. There's a lot of smoke. I think quite a bit of fire. I already wrote about. I thought the Republicans would have a nice, amount of information that they could impeach him on, especially if they're applying the standards to which they impeached Trump on back in 2018. Was it 2018, 2019? Maybe it was the first impeachment. They could get Biden. So McCarthy's still saying they're going to open up impeachment inquiries, and we'll see where that goes. I'm sure the Democrats would secretly like to get rid of him, though. I don't think they'd want their president to be impeached. But I'm sure they want him gone. Really, I'm sure they want him gone. But anyway, before we jump into it, I want to encourage you guys to go to Black2News.com, check out different content on my website, different articles. I did post an article about Vivek and his 59% inheritance tax. I mentioned yesterday that they had a fact check portion on their website, and they tried to debunk it, and they're like, no, he's for a flat tax. And granted, it's not a policy position that's on his website or whatever he's pushing, but he did write about it in his book. And in the on the website they kind of, were like, if people want to take him out of context, you could just, or do you understand, you could just buy the book. So I did buy the book, and I did read through it. Now, when people they're confronted about things that are in the book, they just are dishonest about what's actually in the book. But I have quotes in the article, and he's defended the positions, in recent interviews as well. So to say that he doesn't support a 59% inheritance tax isn't true. Whether he can implement it or he will implement it is another question. But I think it's telling that he thinks it's ethical in the least bit, because it's not. At least it's not a conservative position, it's not a libertarian position. So I know a lot of people really like him and like what he says, but I'm of the opinion that he says a lot of things that people want to hear, and that's why he kind of switches up what he says. It doesn't want to really have to own up to, other statements that he's made, particularly in his book, unless he's like, really, really, forced into admitting it. But I mean, I'll just say one quote from him. My response is that we should think of inheritance taxes not just as a way of redistributing wealth, but as a way of redistributing duty. Yes, by definition, preventing parents from creating dynasties is a restriction of their liberty. Civilization itself amounts to collective agreement for each individual to give up some liberties so that the group can prosper. So to me, that doesn't sound like conservatism, or it doesn't sound like, he's a libertarian, or that's a libertarian position. He's actually, quotes and has been inspired by a socialist, when he talks about all this in the book. But it sounds more like equity, like what the Democrats are talking about, equity over equality. So because equality of opportunity, I mean, it's not that that everybody's starting off at the same place. It's more or less, we're all in this great land where we all have equal opportunities, and we or equal liberties, I guess. You have free speech, I have free speech. You know, we have the right to life. We have all different, we have equal protection under the law. At least we ought to. So neutral based sort of policies is where it's at. But when you get into you're too successful, and we know it's not right for you to just give all that to your kids. They need to reset. That's a crazy position. I'm sorry for any he said some things that I haven't liked, but that one's a doozy. That one's a doozy. So someone told me like, well, I like everything else he has to say. I'm like, this is a huge ideological issue. I'm like, what could he possibly be saying that you like that everyone else doesn't hold that same position? Basically, like, people agree that climate change, they all pretty much say that climate change is real to some degree, but it's not worth ruining our economy. He's not special in that regard. Who doesn't say drill for oil and frack and other things that he says? He says it as if it's so simple. And of course it's simple, and you're saying things that everyone else agrees with. There's the only thing that there's a couple stark differences, like on his he announces the foreign policies like they're so starkly different, but that's not even the case. Like he's like, I'm the only one who will say this about Taiwan, that we're gonna defend them, but only for 4 years, and after that I'm gonna do the same thing that everyone else is doing. Like, oh, okay. So I think it's a huge red flag. Please go check out my article on my website, black2news.com. Again, it's got different passages from his book. It even also includes their fact check. So please don't send me their fact check. I know what it says. It's still wrong. Just like sometimes when the Washington Post does fact checks, the fact check is wrong. Or Snopes will sometimes do fact checks, and their fact check will be wrong. It's about how you present the evidence. Sometimes their fact checks are right. But theirs is incorrect. So anyway, please check it out. Please check out that article and other stuff that I have at the website. Please check out different merch that I have. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at black2news.com. Cost the stream, on my website, all that stuff. So if you guys can support, God bless you, very much appreciate it. And last thing I will say is that on September the 10th, we are having Tucker Carlson come to Michigan. So if you are in the area, or you would like to drive and it's maybe not too far and you really want to see Tucker, there are different hotel rooms that you guys can get if you want to, come and participate and have a great time. So I ask that you guys consider it is a fundraiser for the Bride of Michigan PAC, and the Bride of Michigan PAC really did help me grow. Like when I was in their studio all the time, I didn't have to pay a dime. They just really wanted to help conservatives, and it's volunteer work. The money goes back into advancing conservative principles and policies. So it's for a good cause. And again, you get to see Tucker Carlson. So if you follow my link, there is a discount to some tickets that are in that particular section. If you'd like to sit somewhere else, you guys can just go to the Bride of Michigan PAC's website, and it's and you can get tickets. They start at $50, but the ones that I have are $80. They're discounted in that spot. So again, it's fundraiser. It's a kind of a big deal to bring up Tucker Carlson to Michigan. So if you like to participate, or if you're on the fence, please consider participating. It'll be a great time, and I hope that I see you there. So anyway, I don't have anything humorous to kind of start off with. So I think I want to start off with the Charlie Kirk video. That was just kind of, I want to say bonkers, but I guess I've already said it. So he believes that the DeSantis campaign should it's a waste of time, and they should just really be helping Trump and doing the ground game and just work to help get the president elected, which I understand that, but there's a lot of different issues wrong with that. So I'm gonna go ahead and allow that to play. I'm waiting for this. I'm playing it from a website article, so I'm just waiting for the ad to finish. But yeah, it's okay. So let me go ahead and share my screen so you guys can see it. Again, I appreciate a lot of the work that Charlie Kirk has done. I think he's a really smart kid. He is a sponge with information, very good debater. I appreciate the ground game with their hard work. They've done a lot to advance, conservative values, but I just don't like this take.
Hundreds of millions of dollars into ballot chasing, voter registration. They have hundreds of full-time staffers in Arizona, Wisconsin, and Georgia.
Let me play that book a little bit.
While the Democrats are currently pouring hundreds of millions of dollars into ballot chasing, voter registration, they have hundreds of full-time staffers in Arizona, Wisconsin, and Georgia. Turning Point Action has a couple dozen. We're doing the best we can. We know of no other full-time organizers out there. The RNC certainly doesn't have them. Ron DeSantis Super PAC, sitting on $110 million, has just said that they are doing a $12 million ad placement right now to support Ron DeSantis. I think Ron DeSantis is a great governor. Why is he trying to ruin his political career right now? Spend that money to help us win in the general. Why are you buying ads to make consultants rich in Iowa? Just say, look, I'm going to go be governor of Florida and turn Florida into the most Republican state. I'm going to deploy my $100 million to help us defeat Joe Biden. He would be hero status in the Republican Party, win or lose. He would look magnanimous. He would look like a confident leader. He would look like he is bigger than just the personal pettiness that's going on right now. Instead, you might as well just burn that money. Donald Trump will be the nominee, absent an unforeseen black swan event. We need that money as a movement right now, and you're lighting it on fire. Lighting it on fire. This is why the Democrats are so confident. They're so cocky. Indict Trump, weigh him down, make the Republicans fight amongst themselves, burn the money, do the boring stuff in Arizona, Wisconsin, Georgia, and squeak out a win. And meanwhile, we're worried on a vanity project. It's got to change very soon.
So, I think all that was just so unfair. So first of all, if he decided to just, first things first, his PAC having a bunch of money, what they raise and what DeSantis does in the actual campaign are not the same. They're not the same. They're not even supposed to coordinate. Okay. Second of all, people donated to that PAC or to the or DeSantis campaign or other pro DeSantis PACs or whatever, because they want him to run. So him just deciding, oh, I'm not, when it's not even January, we're still months out from the first, primary, is kind of crazy. Like, I know that Trump is way ahead in the polls, short, and he looks inevitable. However, I think it's good for people to have options and have choices, especially considering Trump's current predicament, just to be honest with you. So it is what it is, and he's in the race. The biggest detriment to him, catching Trump is that there's such a solidified number of people who are going to automatically vote for Trump, and then the rest of the other votes are just split up amongst everyone else. So, that's really the biggest kind of obstacle, besides people who are militantly going to support Trump. But it's early, and it's weird to me, all the people who are just saying you need to just drop out. We all need to just coalesce behind Trump, and that is what Trump is pushing, and that's what other pro-Trump influencers are also pushing as well. Third thing is, I don't think it would make him look like a hero. I think it would make him look like a punk, to be frank. Trump has been insulting him nonstop, calling him a traitor. He accused him of being a pedo. He hasn't said the nicest thing to DeSantis. He also said that Cuomo did handle COVID better. To uplift him over DeSantis, when there's all these records of Trump on video praising DeSantis, is pretty wild. It's pretty wild. When he talks about pettiness, I mean, does this look like pettiness?
About Trump, he's a resident here in Florida, and he hasn't commented on Italia at all yet.
It's not my concern. My concern is protecting the people of Florida, being ready to go, and we've done that. And look, in Florida, you just have to do this. I mean, this is something we put a lot of time and effort into throughout the course of each year, knowing that there's going to be time where you're going to have to activate it. Now, we had a major one last year, one of the most expensive on record. We were hoping not to have any this year, that maybe we would get off lucky, but that just wasn't in the cards. So you deal with it. But that's been our focus, getting all this stuff ramped up. I think the counties, by and large, I think have done a really good job with this. And there's going to be things that are going to happen over these next few days. They're going to require a lot of support, and we want to be there to be able to support folks. So we'll be back with doing some more briefings, and then as soon as the storm passes, I think we'll probably end up trying to get on the road and figure out where the worst damage is, and get down there and see what we can do to be able to help those folks. Thanks.
So yeah, he's busy governing. While Trump isn't saying good luck or whatever, he's saying trashing DeSantis. The day that Trump got his mugshot taken, attack after on DeSantis. Donald Trump Jr. trashing DeSantis because he's playing baseball with his kids. Mocked his cowboy boots and said he was transitioning. So to just drop out and be like, oh, he looked like such a hero if he just bent over and took it. Like, no, I don't think so. Would you respect a man who just came groveling, like, after someone accused you of like being a pedophile, being a groomer? I don't think so. I don't care how much you like Trump. I don't. Him saying he should just give up his money and he would look so great to the movement. They ask for just entirely ridiculous things. Are just too much to ask. I think. They pledged their support to whoever is going to be the nominee. They probably should have pledged their support on the contingent that person signs the same pledge that they did. But they all pledge their support, so they all back Trump when he wins the nomination. But that's when he wins the nomination. He has a long way to go. So no, DeSantis dropping out and his super PAC just giving the money to Trump. That's not going to happen. So, but people are calling, different influencers, Carrie Lake and Trump and other, folks want everybody to drop out so they can just raise money and send it to Trump and apparently do all this other stuff that he's talking about, ground game, etc. And he says that DeSantis is lighting money on fire with these ad buys, and it could be used for something different, something else. A lot of money that Trump is raising is going to his legal bills, not to get out the vote effort. And a lot of money that he will continue to raise will be going to his get out the vote, not get out the vote, but his legal bills. It's going to his legal fees, and I guess he's covering some people, but a lot of people who got indicted with him in Georgia, they're not getting help. I've talked about how electors in Michigan, from my understanding, they're all on their own. So if you're talking about, it's a shame that this money that DeSantis is using on ad buys isn't going toward building a ground game, which is something that the RNC and other organizations should be doing. God bless Charlie Kirk for what he's doing. God bless him. But the RNC, those organizations, they don't usually do that ground game stuff that early. Like, they might have some people strategically at some places in an office all year long. Like when I worked at the Michigan Republican Party, there was a Detroit office that was open all year long. And there was like some other places that people would, pop in at, but like they usually wait a bit later in the year before they really start staffing up. And you can say that's a smart thing or not, but that's how it usually works. But the big problem is that a lot of state parties are kind of decimated. Trump did not have great ground game, particularly in 2016. And he was very fortunate that there was good ground game in different state parties. Like Michigan had a really good state party at the time. People would go particularly to Michigan, even if they had to take not as much money as they would like, but they knew it was a good way, a good gateway to get to DC to work, in some kind of federal level, because it was a good state party. And we had a lot of big donors in the state and stuff. So, but the RNC, ran a tight ship. They had really good data, etc. However, it's not the same. But the RNC has been taking losses back to back to back. People were really amazed that Trump did an interview on Newsmax, and the reporter was trashing Ronna McDaniel. He's like, "Oh no, she's great," and his face was kind of like, it was kind of funny. But people surprised. They're like, Trump, and he had people call on behalf of Ronna, so there's a lot of people, including I think Charlie Kirk, who wanted somebody else to be the chair. Ronna's his girl, and Ronna was the chair when I was the chair, but a lot of people wanted to change. Trump didn't want to change. But our state party is pretty decimated. Arizona's is decimated, and part of that is a large part of that is because of Trump. So we're not in a good level ground position right now to win in a lot of crucial states, and that, not saying that can't change, but if a lot of money is going to legal fees and lawyers and trials for 4 indictments, I don't think you have the right to talk about Ron DeSantis, even if everybody does drop out. There's a lot of, people have small donors who are given to these people, but they also have big donors who are given to these PACs and other stuff like that. They're not just going to drop DeSantis and then just go give money to Trump when they know it's going to his legal bills. That is just the truth. You can be mad at what I'm saying, but it's just the truth. You can be mad at what I'm saying, but it is just the truth. Like, he had a hard time, with donors, big donors coming over in 2016, and they had to, it took a minute to warm up to them. At least that was in my experience, being on the ground in Michigan and stuff. And 2020, he had some successes, and he didn't make people as nervous as he did in 2016 because he was a gamble in 2016, and he did some good things that a lot of people really liked. But it's not the same kind of ball game, especially with all the indictments. So that's going to take up a lot of money. It's going to take up a lot of time. It's going to take up a lot of news coverage. That's going to distract from things you could be saying about Biden's record or Biden's corruption. It's just going to take over the entire election cycle. So when Charlie Kirk sends one of his kids to a door in Atlanta, and they knock on the door and they say, "Hey, will you support our ticket? Will you consider, voting Republican?" They're going to say, "Why did your candidate try to disenfranchise my vote?" That's going to be their question. That's going to be their question in Detroit. And all around like Maricopa County. Those are the questions that people are going to ask. So I think I do like DeSantis. I really do. I think he's a huge dork. I think he's not good at a lot of people really liked his debate performance. I thought he was very awkward and needs some work. He's if it's a policy driven, like, look toward the future kind of election, and he was the nominee, he could do a good job. But it's gonna be a little awkward. I don't think it's a slam dunk, because he's so awkward. He doesn't have the charisma that Trump has, or Vivek. I saw some people in my comments that are like, "Oh, Vivek, please go read that article I just dropped about Vivek." By the way, I did try to add his comms people, and did requests for hey, can he come on and talk a bit or whatever? Can I get an interview? If that does not happen, I'm gonna wait a little bit, and then I'm gonna lay out a case for why I'm not a fan. With a lot of receipts. So just want to let you know I'm trying to be fair. But as news comes out and his positions change on things, I feel compelled to talk about him. So I don't know how this primary will end up. And Charlie Kirk is right. It looks like Trump will be the nominee. That doesn't mean that he will be. Joe Biden looked like he was in trouble in 2020 for a minute, and then everybody coalesced and made some deals just to block Bernie. So I will tell you this: I do not think that people on the right or the left will allow Trump to be president again. I do not think. I think the Democrats really, really want him to be the nominee. But if that happens, I'm telling you, some big money people on the right are just not going to, they're not going to help. They're not going to give. He won't have those big dollars. So he's going to have to either spend more of his own money, or spend some of his money, or just keep getting it from small dollar donations. And maybe he can keep, incurring that excitement. I mean, he got $7 million after the mugshot photo. There's a lot of people who are motivated by revenge and retribution. But I don't think everybody feels that way though. So again, I like what Charlie Kirk does. I like I respect what he's doing. I think he's a smart kid. I mean, he's like a grown man, but he's younger than I am. But I think that's a wild take that he's got going on there with DeSantis. I think that's a wild take. And I'm going to show you guys something that's kind of trippy. This did not age well at all in the least bit. in the least bit. This is floating around. I heard a recording of this last night when I was on like a live, and then people are sharing this clip of Judge Janine, who just adores Trump. And this is from, well, I guess when she starts talking, you'll eventually figure out where it's from, but it kind of sounds like it could be from today. Right now, but this is a throwback. It did not age particularly well.
This is the most important election of your lifetime. Whether you like Hillary Rodham Clinton or Donald J. Trump doesn't matter. There is only one person you can vote for. We cannot have a country led by a president subject to ongoing criminal investigations, potential indictment, and never-ending hearings. We cannot have a president under that level of scrutiny that inevitably leads to even more questions and more investigations. And irrespective of what happens to her, whether she's indicted or even guilty, it doesn't matter. Her guilt is a moot point. She cannot take the Oval Office. Now, in any other business, when
well, I'll keep playing a little bit.
the head of a corporation is plagued by scandal, that person steps down and is replaced because the board knows a business cannot succeed without respect and authority. How do you think the world is going to look at the United States when a woman under federal criminal investigation who's lied repeatedly to the American people is elected? Do you think they'll take her at her word? How many countries already own her through the Clinton Family Charitable Foundation, which was used to raise a minimum of $100 million just for her husband, Bill? How many countries like Morocco own her because they gave $12 million for 5 minutes with Bill? Just think, we can have our own world joke, like Bunga Bunga Prime Minister Berlusconi under constant investigation while in office and then sentenced to prison. Why, when just this week, we are faced with threats of a cyber attack on Election Day, not to mention the constant threat of another terror attack on U.S. soil, when Obamacare premiums in some states are higher than mortgages? Would we put someone in the job who is distracted and not focused, not to mention a little woozy? We need a commander-in-chief focused on daily briefings, not one who, along with her staff, is worried about her and her spouse's investigation and what leverage can be used to shut that investigation down.
So the little woozy, if you guys don't recall, and sometimes people, are newer into politics, so they weren't following it that well. But back in 2016, it was like a 9/11 memorial or whatever, and Hillary Clinton was just like dragged into a car. She was like passed out or whatever, and they were trying to hide it, and we only know because it was like citizen journalism or whatever, and that got around. And then and then there was like, I don't know if they shot her with something or whatever. And then there was like another clip or whatever with her like saying hi to a child or something and touching a child. And they're like, oh, she had the flu or something. And that's at first they're just trying to deny some stuff. And then they're like, oh, she had the flu or something. I'm like, why'd she touch a child? And then then eventually when the stories just came out and they couldn't like hold back that something happened to her, they're just like, the Clinton, she does have a disease, it's a lying disease or something, diabetes or something. So I assume that's what she's talking about when she says a little woozy, though there are allegations that she has a another kind of problem, but I don't know if that's so. But yeah, a lot of that monologue sounds like if she keeps that same energy, then the current president and his looks like who's going to go head to head with, they'd both be disqualified. So I wonder if anyone is going to bring this up to her, because man, that's not the same energy. That's not the same energy. Because she said it didn't even matter if she was innocent or not. She said it just looks bad, and you can't have someone who's in the Oval Office who has all these under investigations and stuff. Now, I guess you could say like, well, does it matter now because they're just going to investigate whoever? I guess you could go that route, but and I think a lot of the stuff that they charged against Trump is just ridiculous, particularly the Bragg case. But the Florida one's going to give him some trouble, guys. And if you haven't actually read it, I would read what they allege. But we do know that there's a recording of him talking about a classified document that he says he did not declassify, and he's apparently showing it to other people. And so he did some criming on tape is the issue. And at first I don't think they have the document, but then they found the document. So I don't know how they're getting out of it. I don't know about that one, to be frank. Just trying to be honest with you guys. You cannot like it. You cannot like it, but I don't try to tailor my messaging per feels, I guess. I'm just trying to be honest and share what I believe is truth and share my opinion. So what a wild video. What a wild video. Anyway, let's move on and talk about the Biden administration and their corruption. Again, I don't think the Democrats want him anywhere near anything. But Fox News did do an interview with Victor Shokin, who is the prosecutor who was fired. Now, I do have an article on my website, Black2News.com, about if they apply the same standard that they use to impeach Trump, those Democrats, again, they can take that same energy and they can impeach Joe. They can impeach Joe. I'm pretty sure that the reason why they impeached Trump is because he was asking questions about legitimate things. And it lays it out. And it's funny because I had posted the article to YouTube, on a YouTube post, and people are like, oh, impeach Biden. Where's the evidence? I'm like, did you read the article? Just read the article. Just read the article. There's plenty of evidence, including evidence that is had because of his son, like texting his daughter and saying that his dad takes like half of his money. That was just a conversation he had with his daughter. No one, forced him to say it. No one tricked him into saying it. It was just something that he, offered. So, do we have like some recordings along the, well, actually there's a not a recording of Joe, but is there anything as, I guess, concrete as like Trump being on tape talking about the classified document? No, nothing like that. But the text messages from Hunter, including like, my dad's right next to me and I'm threatening you. And there's evidence that he was like in the Delaware home around that area that same time as his dad. It lends credibility that they're in cahoots. And then they just discovered a bunch of emails from like other like burner accounts or whatever with all these different names that Biden has, where his son is CC'd on the emails talking about different things that are gonna get them busted. So there is going to be an impeachment inquiry, from my understanding, that they're not backing down on that. And they should, I think. I don't think, the only thing is I don't think it'll go anywhere. It's so funny though. Someone mentioned that Clinton being impeached for lying is like way more tame than kind of stuff we're talking about. So anyway, let's flash back to Joe Biden talking about this prosecutor getting fired before we actually watch the clip of the prosecutor talking.
I remember going over convincing our team or others to convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, I'm not going to, or we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I looked, I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid at the time. Well,
so that prosecutor was investigating Burisma, an oil and gas company where his son sat on the board. And Hunter Biden had there's no reason to put him on the board other than the fact that his name is Biden, and they wanted that connection and that influence or whatever. So his friend or business partner, Devin Archer, testified, that he thought Burisma wouldn't have been in business if not for like that sort of influence, and that they figured that could get them some help legally. Again, I have an article on my website that details and has a lot of sources and stuff about that. But let's go ahead and watch a bit of that interview with Victor Shokin talking about this. And again, you can take what he's is saying with a grain of salt if you would like, but I definitely don't think that Biden himself is trustworthy at all. And there's a lot of smoke, and I think there's a lot of fire. And I think there's enough for Republicans, especially if you apply the standard that they applied to Trump when he was first impeached, to go after Biden. And Democrats are really foolish if they run this old man who is perpetually on vacation.
From your position by President Poroshenko?
I have said repeatedly in my previous interviews that Poroshenko fired me at the insistence of the then Vice President Biden because I was investigating Burisma.
So did President Poroshenko tell you that he wanted you to stay on the job, but there was pressure from Vice President Biden?
You understood me correctly. This is how it was. There were no complaints whatsoever, no problems with how I was performing at my job. But because pressure was repeatedly put on President Poroshenko, that is what ended up in him firing me.
What are your thoughts when you saw the tape of Vice President Biden speaking to the Council on Foreign Relations, saying you had 6 hours to fire you or you're not going to get the $1 billion?
Not only the position of President Poroshenko, the office of President Poroshenko was humiliated, but the entire country of Ukraine was humiliated. And I developed a very firm understanding of the fact that the Vice President was only acting in his own interests. He, generally speaking, handled Ukraine like it was his own backyard. He would put people that were suitable for him, he would arrange for them to be put in certain positions.
Why were you looking into Burisma?
The reason I oversaw the Burisma case was because I was the prosecutor general. Burisma was an ordinary case. There wasn't anything particularly different about it. The reason that I was handling it was because it deserved a special mention. It was on a list of cases to merit special attention. because Hunter Biden was involved with Burisma, and of course his father, the vice president, Biden at the time, oversaw Ukraine affairs for the White House. This is why.
Understood. Do you believe they were up to no good? Were they up to doing something corrupt with Burisma? Was the company of Burisma corrupt, as been alleged, in which since has been disbanded?
I have no doubt that there were illegal activities engaged in by Burisma. As a matter of fact, the criminal case had been started before me. It continued to expand. And Zlochevsky, who at the time held the post of minister and was the founder and CEO of Burisma, started bringing in people who could provide protection for him. Hunter Biden was among them. And the corruption network expanded as a result. So, yes, to answer your question, there's no doubt in my mind that Burisma was engaged in illegal activities.
Devin Archer said you were a threat to Burisma. Do you agree?
Да, согласен.
Yes. Yes, I agree.
Why? Because you were going to find out what they were up to?
Because he understood, and so did Vice President Biden, that had I continued to oversee the Burisma investigation, we would have found the facts about the corrupt activities that they were engaging in, that included both Hunter Biden and Devin Archer and others.
What corrupt activities did you suspect they were engaged in?
It would take half a day for me to discuss every single count, but I can say that Burisma illegally produced, sold, and utilized gas. Zlochevsky, the founder of Burisma, recently made a plea deal with the prosecution in a case where he was accused of giving a $6 million bribe, which is the kind of money that you don't just give away if you're not really engaging in anything illegal. So his plea deal was to cover up a $6 million bribe that he gave earlier.
Do you believe that Joe Biden or Hunter Biden got bribes?
I do not want to deal in unproven facts, but my firm personal conviction is that, yes, this was the case. They were being bribed. The fact that Joe Biden gave away $1 billion in U.S. money in exchange for my dismissal, my firing, isn't that alone a case of corruption?
The New York Times writes, on this year's office, Shokin became a symbol of Ukraine's deeply ingrained culture of corruption. Wall Street Journal, something similar. Washington Post, something similar. What do you say to people who say it's you that are corrupt and that Joe Biden did the right thing, making sure you were fired?
I would appreciate if any of these highly respectable publications could come up with a single instance or a single example of my personal corruption or any offense whatsoever allegedly committed by me.
Why don't you sue then? Why don't you sue these publications for defamation?
I would gladly do that, but suing somebody costs money, and I simply don't have the money to do that because I'm a retiree and my monthly pension constitutes the equivalent of $800.
Has this damaged America's reputation in Ukraine?
There is no doubt that his actions have damaged the U.S. reputation in Ukraine. It is public knowledge. Everybody knows that it was because of Joe Biden's actions that Russia was able to claim Crimea without firing a single shot, which of course eventually led to a full-scale war that is currently underway. And I do talk about this in my book. But yes, the damage has been done, definitely. I have long been concerned about my personal safety and security. And I've already died technically twice as I was poisoned with mercury.
Victor Shokin, thank you so much.
So, interesting. Again, Joe Biden wanted this prosecutor fired. They said, it's because he, they're trying to clean up corruption or whatever. And that he was going to withhold the funds that are supposed to go to Ukraine unless they were fired. And they're like, you don't have that authority. He's like, call the president. Just a lot of shady stuff revolving him and Hunter and their business dealings. And then we know, of course, they tried to give Hunter a sweetheart plea deal. And they were just going to kind of even let him just get off, period, I guess. Before, I guess, whistleblowers started making a stink about it. But even then they tried the plea deal and tried to do like some secret immunity deal or whatever. So now there's a special prosecutor, but the special prosecutor is the man who gave the sweetheart deal. So it's all just so messed up. So, but we'll see what happens. I think Joe Biden is truly a weight. It's an anchor, that will weigh down the Democrats. I'm pretty sure they want to get rid of him. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of Democrats who are chomping at the bit to be the nominee. But I think particularly Gavin Newsom. I think Kamala Harris would like that. Of course, she ran for president herself, but everybody dislikes her. She has no future doing that unless, Joe. Gretchen Whitmer, who's my governor, I have no doubt that she wants to be in the White House. No doubt. And I think she's probably their strongest contender. I think she'd be, I think she makes much more sense than Gavin Newsom. I think she makes way more sense than him, but I don't think they want to push out Joe. If Republicans impeach him, they'd probably be doing him a favor, though they can't pull it off because they don't have the numbers without Democrat participation, but we'll see what happens. I do want to say, I saw a comment. This person already said that they left, that they usually enjoy my commentary, but I'm a little off today because of, I guess, some of the Trump stuff. Look, serious question. Like, if you are saying it's all nonsense indictments and stuff, which some of them are, but the Florida one is kind of bad. And I think a lot of the stuff they can probably get thrown out. Maybe they can, because a lot of information came from his lawyers. But they decided to get information from his lawyers and breach that confidentiality because Trump was requesting that they did stuff that was, being dishonest and lying and hiding stuff from after they got the subpoena. Like someone said, like, Crooked Hillary did this. Trump allegedly asked his people if they could do what Hillary did to get away, and get out of the mess. So that's probably hard to hear, but I had a conversation with someone on my page the other day about the recording of Trump, and they didn't know that the recording existed, the classified documents, and they didn't know that he had documents and he had someone fly them to a different location. And they're like, well, I didn't see that. I'm like, it's been reported. And I said, I've talked about it too. And so I sent a link. I think it was a US Today article. And they're like, well, do you believe this? I'm like, just go read the indictment. If you don't want to, I don't trust, blanket word what AP and all these folks report, but some things are just true and some things aren't true. And sometimes how they present the truth is skewed. You got to be careful how they present the information. But I'm like, just go read the indictment. Now, that doesn't mean that everything in the indictment is true. That they'll have to prove that in court. That's, Trump is an innocent, presumption of innocence. He deserves that. Everybody deserves that. But legitimately, don't say that everything, just shrug off everything if you don't know what's actually in there, is my advice. Again, some of them are really stupid. But the superseded indictment Florida one, maybe not so much the first one, but the second one that came out, there's some not good stuff in there. And even if he gets, they can't nail him down for anything criminal, there's some behaviors in there that don't look too great. So I'm if that makes you upset and it makes you click the unsubscribe, it just is what it is. I can't I can't live my life lying to people just for subscriptions. I can't do that. Hopefully you guys just respect where I'm at. You guys like when I dunk on other people you don't like. So I guess, if you like when I dish it, you got to take it sometimes too. I'm just trying to be honest with you. I don't like it. I don't like it. But it is something to think about. And when these things come out in trial, and I think the Georgia one will probably be televised, it's not gonna make him look good. Again, if Charlie Kirk's turning point people go knock on doors and they start saying things that they heard during the trial or whatever, and they believe that Trump tried to disenfranchise their vote, they're not gonna want to, vote for him when they didn't do it before. I'm just trying to be honest. I want to win. And I just want to speak the truth. Speak my mind, but speak the truth. So if you haven't legitimately just taken the time to look at the indictments, and there's 4, so and some of them are kind of long, and we're busy with life. So I don't fault anyone for not really going through them. But I'm saying don't dismiss them, get angry at other people for mentioning things in there, bringing it up, because it's worth talking about, because it's not going to be invisible during the election. One of his trials is before the third indictment, the DC one, is the day before Super Tuesday. So this stuff isn't going to, it's going to be all a part of next year, and it's going to be all a part of his campaign. It's going to be all a part of the news cycle. So when you're out there on the street trying to defend Trump and someone tells you a real thing and you're like, no, it's fake, don't be caught with your pants down because you don't know what's actually in there. And maybe I'll have to do some kind of summary or something for all of them again, because some of them are dumb. The Bragg one is totally ridiculous. He should be embarrassed. And I don't think they're like the RICO thing, charging lawyers and all that stuff. That's crazy to me. Alan Dershowitz is like, I could teach an entire semester on, I don't know if he said semester, but an entire class on how ridiculous, structuring it is in that kind of way is. And, he knows more. I'm not saying he's always right, but he definitely knows more about the law than I do, and particularly about those particular racketeering charges and stuff. So some of the stuff is ridiculous. Well, they do got him on tape. They do got him on tape. So again, if you gotta click unfollow it, I guess I'd rather rip off that Band-Aid now, because what I will not do just to keep you is to lie to you. Maybe other influencers will do that. I got my own opinions. I got my own favorites. In the race, and I'll try to be fair. There's some people who I'm like, I'm done, and I'm not considering them. Like Vivek is strongly not being considered. But the other day I still was like, NBC did a smear on him that was so stupid, and I stood up for him because it was stupid. It was untrue. So I'll try to be fair to everybody. But Trump didn't make all the best decisions when he left office. It's just the truth. It's just the truth. It's just the truth. Anyway, before I let you go, I did want to mention this because it's in the top of the title, but CNN, the little weirdos at that network. Let me show you the tweet. Let me show you this tweet that describes their story. And again, they're getting roasted for this. 2 men in Uganda are facing separate charges of aggravated homosexuality, an offense punishable by death under the country's controversial new anti-gay laws. So, I don't know what they think when they start down this path of what they're going to tweet out? Do they just want people to be like, oh my gosh, it's terrible what they're doing to the LGBT community, and just think of it that way and not I mean, they probably expect a lot of people to literally not click on the article and read it. But God's gift to man right here with the community notes, you don't even have to. They just put in the correction. And again, this is in the article, but they let you know right off the bat that one man is accused of having sexual relations with a disabled man, and the other is a sexual act with a 12-year-old child. So, both are charged with aggravated homosexuality, defined as same-sex relations with someone who is HIV positive, a child, an elderly person, or disabled. So that's what happened. So people are saying that CNN is evil, that they are groomers, of course, offer how they do their headlines. So just folks, be careful what you write. I don't understand precisely what might be the point of framing stuff like this, but maybe it's just to make it seem like a pile on of, oh my gosh, the world's coming against the gays. These people are sick. And so people are also pointing out that they're calling them anti-gay laws, and they're like, you're just bringing this up for it to be an anti-gay law, and that's what you're referring it to when these men did these terrible things to an elderly man, to a disabled man, and to a child, a 12-year-old child. Well, they might get the death penalty, and they should probably do it. They should probably do it. I mean, I don't have very, I know that, I guess I sounded strong, but I don't have big, strong opinions about the death penalty one way or another, I guess. But there's just sometimes where it just kind of hits you in your feels, and you're like, it makes sense. But we don't actually, the death, of course, you're always concerned about the possibility of being wrong and sending an innocent person to their death. Which one of the reasons why I have many appeals. And I think the reason why, with us being able to do so many appeals when someone is on death row, I think that's one of the many reasons why it's actually very expensive for someone to be on death row. So we don't even do that very well. The government doesn't even kill people well, unless it's like, I don't know, you're droning an aid worker in Afghanistan who just wanted to bring home some water. Biden. By the way, the families, the Gold Star families from the troops who were killed in Afghanistan, I keep seeing people say that Joe Biden has never said all their names out loud. And I guess I can't find any evidence of it, but that's a really tragic thing. And no one's been held accountable, and there's already been like different hearings with them. There was an event the other day, and they didn't really do any segments on that on like CNN, and I think they talked a little bit about it. I think one spot at maybe I don't know, 2 a.m. or something like that. They had so many other things, important things, I guess, that they felt that they needed to cover at CNN, but there needs to be some accountability for this man, whether it's how his business dealings with his son that he obviously has, even though he says he never talked to his son about business, and then he had to shift it to we were never in business, and all that is just garbage. But that, or Afghanistan particularly, because nobody got in trouble for that. Nobody got reprimanded at all. How do you just drone the wrong people and then lie about it? Like, we had bombs that went off. There was secondary explosions from the water canisters. Like, not true. And people were really upset about his Maui response. So I don't know, maybe he'll get his up and comings in the election if we can pull ourselves together anyway. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me today. I hope you guys enjoyed the show, though some of you, I guess, did not. But I'm not here to necessarily hold your hand. I'm just, just trying to again share my opinion and share news and commentary. And I'm not here to be dishonest with you and grift to you. It's not why I started Black2News. And it's a friend of mine who has 1 million followers on TikTok. Her name is This Is Savvy. She also has a YouTube channel where she just basically talks about movies and stuff. And I've had her on. Last time I've had her on, we talked about the Florida AP's not the AP studies, but the African American history studies thing, and people getting so mad about that, and broke it down and the controversy. And so it's a good time if you haven't watched it, go ahead and find the video with Savvy. But every now and again she'll talk about different drama that people are kind of rage baiting in, and she'll just point out however you get your followers is how you have to keep them. And I think last time she mentioned it, there was some drama on Book Talk, that the algorithm where they just, people are talking about different books and stuff that they read. And a lot of people were angry at this one guy who was like, moderately attractive or whatever. And he just, started talking about some books that he wanted to get back into reading. So he just talked about like a book that he read growing up and something I was currently reading. And people were mad because he just got so many followers overnight. And so they had been building their platforms, and they're just, they were just hating. They were just mad on him. And people were making all these kind of stories up and like guessing his political affiliation and attacking him. And it was just kind of wild. And so she was criticizing people's rage bait toward him and how they treat other folks. And she just, she said this a couple times with different topics and subjects. So I think the last time she related, I guess, to them and was like, however you get your followers is how you have to keep them, because that's what they're attracted to. So if you're, you're outrage bait and, vicious and vile, then that's how you have to kind of, that's going to be your brand. So, I respect you guys too much, but more importantly, I respect myself too much to lie to you every day. So I'm not going to just tell you things that you want to hear. That's one of the reasons why I don't like Vivek, because I feel like I tell you just things you want to hear as opposed to just, telling you straight facts. And I know politicians frame things certain way, but I'm not a fan of it, obviously. But I can't sometimes maybe I'll handle things maybe more delicately or whatever, but to just kind of, I can't just grift for Trump support. I can't grift for DeSantis support. I can't grift for Vivek support. I can't grift. I just can't do it. And I'm not going to. So, I hope you stick around and can respect that. Because at the end of the day, I just got to be me. And if it's just me, and my sister's logging on to watch my life, I guess that's what it will be. And I've appreciate the growth that I've had with my platform. If it goes back down to whittle to nothing and I have to rebuild it, it is what it is. But I can't grift for you. I just can't. So if I upset you because I didn't come off like just a rabid Trump defender, the truth is that he's made some errors, and I can't lie about that. And I can't I guess you could sugarcoat it, but I feel like I am still kind of sugarcoating it. There's more things you can say. But again, you can just go read the indictment yourself. But anyway, go to Black2News, check out different content on my website, different articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, appreciate what I do here, you guys can go to black2news.com and leave a donation on the website. It costs to stream, costs to run my website, etc. So if you want to support in that way, very much do appreciate it. God bless you for it. And I thank you guys for watching live. I thank you guys for watching back. And thank you guys for spreading the word. Again, we are going to have Tucker Carlson on September the 10th in Michigan. So if you would like to go and participate, thank you guys for coming and for supporting the PAC. And I hope to see you guys there. And it should be a really, really cool event. There's a link right in the description if you're watching on Facebook and YouTube, where you can click on it, and then there will be a discounted ticket price. My discounted ticket price start at $80. So if there are $50 tickets, you'll have to go to the Brighter Michigan PAC website to get those. So if that's a little too rich for your blood, but it'll be a good time. Yeah. So again, God bless you guys. And I'm gonna look at the comments really quickly because I see them coming in. But again, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.